Hello viewer, a warm welcome to Elimu TV where you watch and learn. So for today's lesson, we are going to look at the calculation and recording of wind. And the subtopic is going to be wind. I am your teacher, Madam Abigail Rachel. So in the last lesson, that is the previous lesson that we had, you looked at temperature. And just to have a recap of what temperature is the hotness or coldness of a place. And so in temperature, we looked at how to calculate the daily temperature. And so in the calculation of daily temperature, we subtract the coldest temperature of the day from the highest temperature. So that is how you get your daily temperature. Number two, we also looked at how to calculate the daily range of temperature. Do you remember what you learned? So just in case you have forgotten, to have a recap on that, you said you calculate the daily range of temperature by having the difference between the highest and the coldest temperature. So that is what we looked at the last lesson. We also looked at how to calculate the mean annual temperature. And mean, this is the average of everything. Annual means yearly. And you also know what is the meaning of temperature. So we said that you calculate the mean annual temperature by getting the mean. We add all the temperature from January to December, then we divide it by the total number of months. So annual means a year. In a year, you have 12 months. So you add the total number of temperature divided by the total number of months. So for today, we are going to talk about wind. And introducing wind, before you see how it is recorded, wind is moving air. Wind is intangible, you cannot see wind. You can only feel the intensity of wind. And we can be able to know the intensity of wind by how hard it strikes a place. For example, if the wind is too much, it may end up breaking a tree. It removes rooftops. So we can say that this is wind. Wind is moving air. Heading on to the recording. So in recording of wind, it is done several times in a week. This is because wind keeps on changing from one direction to another. It also keeps on changing the intensity, and it can blow from one place to another. So it is done several times in a week, and the directions of wind are recorded in a wind rose. A small assignment for you. Find out what is a wind rose before you can find that in a slide. So we also see that the number of days that remained calm, that is the wind is not blowing from any direction, are entered in the center of the diagram. So a wind rose is a diagram that is used in recording of wind, and the number of calm days is usually written at the center. So you have a little clue about what a wind rose is all about. Now that you have a clue about what a wind rose is all about, I want you to see a video that I'm going to put on the slide. This video is talking about how we record wind on a wind rose. It also talks about the strength and how we will know whether it is and how we will know whether the wind blew many times from one direction to another. So watch and listen keenly.
It's no surprise that wind could be one of the biggest and most influential weather factors in baseball. So it's extremely important to know where the wind is blowing and how fast it's blowing. And that's exactly what wind roses do for us. Let's take a look at a sample wind rose from AT&T Park for the month of April. Now it's important to know which month you're looking at because these wind roses vary month to month. Let's take a look at this big arrow right here. The arrow points to the direction the wind is blowing to. So this long arrow is pointing towards right center field, and what do you know? That indicates that the wind is blowing towards right center field. Now let's take a look at the smaller arrow pointing towards center field. And that's exactly where the wind is blowing, to center field. The length of the arrow is also important because the longer the arrow, the more often the wind blows in that direction. So since this arrow is so long, it indicates that the wind frequently blows out to right center field at AT&T Park, whereas these arrows are much smaller, indicating that the wind very infrequently blows in from left field. Going back to that big arrow, we could break it down even further. Take a look at this color section of blue. The larger the color section, the more often the wind blows at that speed in that direction. So this large chunk of blue indicates that the wind very frequently blows between 13 and 19 miles per hour out to right center field at AT&T Park. The wind also blows out at 25 miles per hour or greater at AT&T Park, but because this section is smaller, it means that the wind doesn't blow at that speed in that direction as frequently. Let's take a look now at how field orientation could impact wind direction. San Francisco and Oakland are only 13 miles apart, so they have the same wind roses. But because the batter faces east at AT&T Park and northeast at O.Co Coliseum, that same wind that frequently blows out to right center field at AT&T Park is now pushing the ball from left field to right field at O.Co Coliseum. So now that you know a little bit more about wind roses, take a look and see what you can find. There's a lot of trends at various ballparks, and you might be surprised at what you discover.
Okay, I hope you have listened to the video, you have watched it. I also assume that you have written some few notes on that video. In the video, we have learned on what a wind rose is. If you have any question, if you have not understood a certain point, please SMS us on 22518. Facebook, you can find us, that is at Elimu TV. You can as well tweet us your questions. We will have the pleasure of giving you feedback, that is at Elimu_KE. So moving away from that, I have a small assignment for you. Construct a wind rose. The assignment is going to be construct a wind rose. And I have the table here with me. And the table has, on the first column, this is the direction. That is north, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, and northwest. And in north, you have 11. Northeast is 4. It goes on respectively until northwest. So construct a table, that is, construct a wind rose using the following information below. So we have come to the end of our lesson about wind. So that is all for today that we have. You can contact us, that is SMS us through 2518, Facebook at Elimu TV. You can tweet us at Elimu_KE. Thank you.